Hello everyone, and welcome to Chapter 9. In Chapter 9, we're going to talk about well-behaved objects, or maybe more importantly, talk about objects that we would like to be well-behaved, but maybe aren't all the time. So, what are we going to be covering? We'll be looking at testing and debugging, test automation, and how to write our code in order to make it maintainable. I know that I am harping on this, but remember that the vast majority of the code's lifetime in a professional project will be in maintenance, not in the creation of the code. And so maintainability is paramount. It's much more important to have clear, human understandable code than it is to have clever hacks and save those for the moments when they are only absolutely necessary. Now, before we get into a detailed discussion on testing and debugging, let's do just a brief quiz. Here we have a method named test that's going to print out some values. Pause the screen, pause the video, try to predict what the output of this block of code will be. If you're having trouble tracing through the code, here are some possible results. It might print out the result is 5, or the result is 6, or the result is 11, or the result is 2. The double result might come back as 12, or 4, or 22, or 66. So I'm going to go back to the code, thinking of those as possible answers. What do you think the result is? When you're ready, unpause and we'll go through what the actual answer is. Welcome back. Did you predict that the results would be 2 and 22? If this isn't what you thought would be printed out, you're not alone. It's very easy to see what you think the code should be doing and not what the code is being told to do. Where are the problems here? What is causing this issue? Well, there are really two. The first is that there's a semicolon at the end of the for statement. And the second is that we are using the concatenation operator, or the overloaded plus sign. And that's executed left to right, so string plus int yields string. The result of that is a string plus another int, which yields a string, so it ends up doing string concatenation. We've seen the string concatenation before, but would this actually compile? Will that semicolon work? And the answer is yes, it will. The semicolon is a null statement. So it is recognized as a statement. It's a statement that does nothing all by itself. And so what this loop does, I equals 0, as long as I is less than or equal to 4, do nothing, then add 1 to I and go over again. So we just churn in this for loop, drop through, and then, well, aren't the curly braces going to be a problem? Well, no, that's a block statement. Those can be used anywhere. And so we drop through. Sum was 1. We go through here. Sum equals sum plus 1. Sum becomes 2. So the result is 2, and the double result becomes 22. This is something that's really important to understand when dealing with formal languages, i.e. computer languages. There is a structure that is defined, and if you understand how that structure is defined, it will make some things that seem arbitrary much more understandable. So, how many statements are allowed after a for statement, or a while statement, or an if statement, or in an else block? You might say, well, as many as you want. It certainly seems that way, but that's actually incorrect. At any time, there can be only one statement after each of these. But the trick is that the thing that is often after those statements will be a block statement. So without the semicolon there, the block statement here is the one statement after the for loop. The block statement can contain as many statements inside of it as are necessary. So keep in mind that when we work with formal languages, we need to do that because of the way a compiler, a computer program, has to understand the string of bytes coming into it. It doesn't perform with what we think we are seeing. It performs with the actual tokens that are in that file. And then it converts those on the basis of the exact definition of the source file. If it can't understand, that leads to syntax errors and it won't compile. Where we're going to be spending our time today will be focusing on when things do compile, but they don't do what we think they should do. And we'll hit that in the next video.